You're watching Tornado Facts with Beanrock124, Season 3, Episode 11, or Episode 51. My name is Nathan, and I love talking about tornadoes. As you all know, in the last episode, I talked about the tornado outbreak sequence of May 2004, and today I will be talking about one of the tornadoes that happened during that outbreak. This is, I believe, the second time I've done this. The last time was obviously the Moore, Oklahoma F5 tornado. Today we are talking about the 2004 Hallam, Nebraska F4 tornado. It was a long-tracked F4 tornado on the afternoon of May 22nd, 2004. It was part of the tornado outbreak that occurred during May 22nd, 2004, and tore through multiple communities and counties in southeastern Nebraska. The tornado damaged many towns along its path, but its most significant damage occurred in the town of Hallam. The Hallam tornado is recognized by NOAA as the second largest tornado ever on record, peaking at 2.5 miles wide in Hallam, behind only the 2013 El Reno tornado, with a width of 2.6 miles wide. The Hallam tornado formed northwest of Dakin at 7:30 p.m. Central Time as an F1 intensity on the Fujita scale. There was a satellite tornado that was rated F1 that formed and quickly dissipated northeast of town. The main storm turned and traveled east-northeast from Dakin to a point south-southeast of Western, and then to about 2 miles north of Swanson. During this time, the tornado fluctuated between an F0 and an F1 intensity and intensified as it moved east. The only damage reported in the area was to farmhouses and silos. The tornado remained confined within the F0 to F1 range until it hit the town of Wilbur, where it intensified to F2 intensity and blew roofs off of structures. The tornado then continued east-northeast, grazing the east side of Wilbur as it moved toward Clatonia. This is where the tornado had reached its F3 intensity for the first time. After passing just northwest of Clatonia, the tornado moved through Hallam at 8:35 Central Time, where damage reached high-end F4 intensity in this area. At Hallam, the tornado was a record-breaking 2.5 miles wide, the widest tornado ever on record at the time. Most homes in Hallam were completely demolished, which is not a surprise considering Hallam was the tornado was 3 times as large as Hallam. They were mostly completely demolished, along with farming equipment and structures. A coal train was tossed off of its tracks on the west side of town. Hallam escaped the most intense winds of the storm, though, which were to the south. East of Hallam, damage was rated F2 to F3 as the tornado turned east and began to cycle. It decreased to about a mile wide as it passed north of Cortland, where it turned northeast and passed 2 miles north of Firth. Norris School District 160 suffered severe damage, with the middle school being hit the worst. The auditorium roof and other walls in the school caved in. Buses were tossed, and homes northeast of school were flattened. At this point, the storm re-intensified, reaching F4 status. Damage continued northeast to Holland and to a point north-northwest of Panama. Here, the tornado damage was light, F2 at best. The tornado then tracked north-northeast toward Bennett, where some houses received F3 damage. At Bennett, the twister turned east-northeast and began to thin out. Damage east-northeast of Bennett was in the F0 to F1 range. The tornado finally dissipated a mile west-southwest of Palmyra at 9:10 p.m. Central Time. So then this information is a little bit skewed here. So, yeah, that's good to know. Here's the path of the Hallam tornado. I showed this in the last episode. As I said, the tornado was almost 3 times as wide as Hallam was wide, and it was a very, very erratic path, as you could tell. About here is about a mile and a quarter wide, I guess, and then 2.5 miles wide over Hallam. Luckily, even though the entire town was engulfed by the tornado, Hallam was. If the tornado was just a little bit north, this tornado could have reached F5 intensity. Considering all the winds, considering it was already high-end F4 when it hit Hallam, so it could have easily been an F5. The storm was long-lived, having been on the ground for more than 100 minutes. It was also a long-track tornado, having covered 52 miles. Even though it damaged towns and demolished many buildings, there were no damage cost estimates available. The Hallam tornado became the widest tornado on record until it was surpassed by the El Reno tornado, which had a width of 2.6 miles wide. However, the Hallam tornado still holds the record for the largest condensation funnel recorded. I'm not sure how large that was, but Well, I mean, you can always watch this video. But that is it for this episode of Tornado Facts with Beanrock124, Season 3, Episode 11, or Episode 51. And with that, goodbye.